Good morning. Here is today's Korean economic news briefing. The Korean economy is currently navigating a treacherous landscape, facing a formidable, perfect storm of external shocks that have sent ripples across our financial markets and key industries. Escalating geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, particularly the ongoing conflict involving Iran and its impact on the critical Strait of Hormuz, have triggered a dramatic surge in international oil prices. Yesterday, Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate, or WTI, futures breached the psychologically significant $100 barrier, surging past $110, and in some instances even touching $119 per barrel. This marks the first time since July 2022 that WTI has surpassed the $100 threshold, signaling a profound energy shock. The immediate fallout for Korea has been severe. The Korean won experienced a sharp depreciation, closing yesterday at 1,496 won to the US dollar, threatening to cross the 1,500 won mark, a level not seen since the global financial crisis. Simultaneously, our stock market was gripped by panic. The Kospi index plummeted significantly, at one point falling below the 5,100 point level and triggering the market-wide circuit breaker for the second time this month, and just 3 trading days after the last invocation. The KOSDAQ also saw a program selling sidecar activated. This volatile cocktail of surging oil prices, a rapidly weakening won, and a falling stock market is raising alarms about a potential triple burden of high oil prices, high exchange rates, and high interest rates. These developments cast a long shadow over the upcoming annual sovereign credit rating review by Standard & Poor's. S&P's annual consultation team arrived in Korea yesterday for a 3-day visit, scheduled to conclude tomorrow, March 11th. Their agenda includes meetings with the Ministry of Economy and Finance, the Bank of Korea, and other key financial institutions. While their assessment will cover external economic conditions, monetary and fiscal policies, the current crisis will undoubtedly be a central point of their evaluation. A stable credit rating is crucial for attracting foreign investment and maintaining confidence in our economy, making this review particularly pertinent amidst such volatility. The surge in oil prices is not just a concern for energy costs, it carries profound macroeconomic implications. Analysts and market experts are increasingly vocal about the rising probability of a U.S. recession this year, with estimates around 35%. This is largely attributed to the oil supply shock-induced inflation, which differs from demand-driven inflation as it simultaneously curbs economic growth. Persistent inflation, exacerbated by surging oil prices, makes it highly likely that the U.S. Federal Reserve will maintain its high interest rate policy, potentially delaying interest rate cuts or even contemplating further hikes. This directly impacts global capital flows, strengthening the dollar and further weakening the won. For Korea, a nation with the highest crude oil consumption relative to GDP among OECD countries as of 2024, the impact is magnified. Higher oil prices translate directly into increased import costs, driving up domestic inflation and production expenses across all industries. This could lead to a severe dilemma for the Bank of Korea. Raising interest rates to curb inflation could stifle economic growth, while lowering them to stimulate the economy would exacerbate inflation and currency depreciation. Many fear that Korea is facing the S-fear, the specter of stagflation, a painful combination of low growth and high inflation. In response to this escalating crisis, President Lee has convened emergency economic meetings to discuss the Middle East situation and explore comprehensive government measures to secure oil and gas supplies, including diversifying import sources. Meanwhile, the Bank of Korea has affirmed its readiness to implement appropriate market stabilization measures if the current interest rates and $1 exchange rate show excessive volatility compared to Korea's economic fundamentals. However, the path ahead remains challenging as global bond markets are also feeling the tremors, with the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield rising for 6 consecutive trading sessions. Looking at specific industries, the perfect storm poses significant challenges. Korea's leading export sectors, such as semiconductors and automobiles, are facing a double whammy of rising logistics and raw material costs due to high oil prices and a weakening global demand stemming from widespread economic uncertainty. There is a palpable concern that the much-anticipated semiconductor supercycle could be jeopardized if global consumption retracts significantly. However, amidst these headwinds, there are bright spots of innovation. At the Interbattery 2026 FEED exhibition currently underway in Seoul, Korean companies are showcasing cutting-edge battery technologies that could be game-changers. Samsung SDI, for instance, unveiled its pouch-type solid-state battery samples developed for physical AI applications, such as humanoid robots. These next-generation batteries, with their high energy density and stability, are crucial for expanding beyond electric vehicles into new growth engines like robotics and drones, offering a strategic diversification as the electric vehicle market faces a temporary slowdown. The real estate market is also showing signs of adaptation to the changing economic environment. Seoul's new apartment complexes are witnessing a rapid, wolse, monthly rent phenomenon, where close to 60% of new tenancy agreements are for monthly rent rather than jaeon's lump sum deposit. This shift is primarily driven by stricter government regulations on household debt, making jaeon's loans harder to obtain, and preventing the use of specific loan types for new apartment move-ins. Regionally, while traditional powerhouses like Gangnam are seeing apartment prices soften, areas like Yonggan-Suji in Gyeonggi Province are experiencing a surprising surge, with some properties reaching record-high prices. This highlights the complex interplay of interest rates, loan regulations, and localized demand dynamics. Finally, we turn our attention to the long-term economic impact of artificial intelligence. While the enthusiasm for AI investment is undeniable, Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz recently cautioned that the current AI investment frenzy might be a bubble built on unsustainable foundations. He also downplayed the notion of AI massively replacing human jobs, suggesting it will more likely assist labor rather than eliminate it. In Korea, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy is proactively establishing a new U.S. investment business management group to develop strategies for strategic investment and exports to the U.S., focusing on key sectors like shipbuilding, pharmaceuticals, and AI. However, there are growing concerns about AI's impact on the domestic labor market. Experts like Professor Su Jian of Peking University warn of the potential for ghost GDP, economic growth that doesn't translate into broad-based prosperity, and AI-driven labor market shocks, particularly affecting young job seekers through reduced hiring rather than outright layoffs. This underscores the need for fostering employment flexibility and developing specialized, high-performance AI models tailored to Korean industries like manufacturing and finance. In conclusion, Korea's economy is grappling with significant external shocks, primarily from the Middle East, leading to heightened volatility in financial markets and inflationary pressures. This environment demands robust policy responses from both the government and the central bank. For investors, the current climate calls for extreme caution and a focus on resilience, while also identifying long-term growth areas like advanced battery technologies and specialized AI applications. For the general public, it means preparing for potentially higher costs of living and a period of economic uncertainty. Staying informed and making prudent financial decisions will be more crucial than ever in these challenging times. Thank you for joining us for this economic news briefing. We will continue to monitor these developments closely.